Hello and welcome to the Wedding Pro podcast, the podcast where we share tips and tricks for wedding vendors and couples, share insight into the wedding world, and share about our experiences. We are Gracie and Angela Felix of Felix Wedding Films. We are so glad you tuned into this week's episode. Now let's get into it. All right. Well, welcome back for another episode of the Wedding Pro podcast. I'm so excited about this week's episode. So today we are shining the light on one of those topics that I feel like is kind of overlooked in the wedding industry, whether you're a couple or a vendor, and that is about building authentic relationships. I'm super excited for our guest, Jenny Lynn of Before the Vows. Before we get into this episode, Jenny, could you just kind of share a little bit about yourself, what you do, where you're based, anything you feel like the listeners would want to know?
Yeah. Hi, Gracie. I'm so excited to be here today. Longtime listener ever since you guys first started. So I'm so honored to be a guest on today's podcast. So as Gracie said, my name is Jenny. My last name's Lynn. A lot of people think it's a double name, Jenny Lynn. So let me just put that out there, and I don't have the heart to correct people sometimes. So it's Jenny, last name's Lynn. I am the owner and founder of Before the Vows, and we are a wedding and event planning business based in Chattanooga, but we serve couples all over the Southeast. We are a team of, I think we have 6 people now. And we have just been so blessed over the past few years to have grown our team to where it's at today. And we're continuing to grow, continuing to learn, and just better ourselves as a team. And I'm excited to be here today to chat about a topic that I'm very passionate about, which is relationships. So excited to get started.
Yeah, I'm super excited because you really are such a good guest for this topic because, I mean, you're so personable. Your whole team is so personable. Like the minute that we met you virtually and then met you in person, it was like as if we had known each other for years.
Yeah.
And so I'm just super excited because I think you're an expert on this topic, and I'm sure couples and vendors will love to hear your insight.
Thank you. I feel the same way about you. It's like when you meet someone, it's like when it's an instant connection, your energies just align. And we have so many parallels, I feel like, in our past careers and now. And we share a lot of the same values and just how we carry ourselves and our business. So I feel the exact same way about you, girl.
Yeah. Well, I know that we could talk for hours, but I will try to keep it on topic. So I'd love to kind of talk more specifically towards vendor connections first, and then maybe we can transition into vendor client connections. So why do you feel like real relationships between vendors matter on both a personal and a professional level?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so relationships between vendors is really the lifeline of your business, especially when you work in such a tight-knit community. A lot of our weddings are in Chattanooga, so Chattanooga is fairly small compared to markets like Nashville and Atlanta. And if you burn bridges, it's not in your best interest as a business. So relationships are absolutely everything. When we first moved here, I made it a point to connect with venues that I wanted to work with. I connected with other planners who were open to chatting, and kind of talking about the market here. And forming those relationships really changed the whole trajectory of our business. It can be uncomfortable to reach out to people, especially when you're new to the area. But I can only really speak to Chattanooga. The community here is so welcoming, so kind. For the most part, there's always going to be outliers, but relationships are everything. And it's what I credit our success to. It's just those strong vendor partnerships that we have and venue partnerships that we have. Honestly, our number one referral is from other vendors and venues. So without that, I don't know where we'd be right now. So very, very important.
Mm-hmm. It really is. And that's something that I feel like a lot of people overlook, and we definitely overlooked in the beginning years of our business. But once we hit, I think year 3 or something like that, I learned, someone told me that building connections, building authentic relationships was super important. So I was like, oh, well, I'm outgoing. I love meeting people. I love having coffee with people. So that's when I really took it upon myself to like be more like intentional with that. And just like you, I mean, our 2026 weddings that we have booked, I forgot what the percentage is. I do track it, but it's like 93%, something like that, is from referrals. And I like that you said you connected with other planners because I think sometimes vendors think like they can't connect with someone in their same vendor category, but it's like, one, you can find a friend in them, and two, they can totally refer you weddings and you can do the same for them. We've gotten great weddings from other filmmakers and referred other filmmakers really great weddings as well.
Right. No, that's exactly right. Like when our team is booked, because we only take a certain number of weddings a year, and when we're booked, I want to be able to refer planners who I know and who I trust. I'm not just going to throw any other planner's name out there, because even though our team might not be able to serve the couple, I still want them to have an amazing experience. And whoever I refer is technically a reflection of me. So I'm always very mindful of that. And that's another perk to getting to know people in your niche in the industry is you need to be able to confidently refer people when you aren't booked, or maybe when it isn't a good fit. There's a multitude of reasons why you might refer another planner, videographer, photographer. But I feel like I have a good solid network of other planners who are very similar to our team and who serve couples and have the same, servant's heart. And I can confidently refer them and know that that couple is in good hands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really good. So you've built such a strong like network in the industry, as honestly everybody can see that like knows you. What do you feel like has led to your success in creating such like genuine connections with other vendors at this point?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought long and hard about this one. I just think like authenticity. I try to just be very authentic in all of my interactions. And I really try to get to know vendors on a personal level. Like for example, I've have a very good relationship with a catering company in town. Like her daughter got sick, so I'm like, when I'm emailing her, I'm not just like asking a question or demanding an answer. Like send me the updated invoice. I'm like, hey, I hope your daughter's doing well. Like, how is she? Like, hope you didn't get ill too. So just taking the time to get to know the vendor on a human level, I feel like has gone a really long way. Do I always do that? No, because wedding days can be crazy. So I try and find like other touch points, whether it be over email or when I'm doing final vendor calls or things like that. And I try and remember specific details about their lives, because that shows that I care, and I care about them more than just serving our couples. Well, I care about them as humans. So I feel like authenticity is really important. I have a hard time being fake. I really do. Yeah. Some people are like, let's go get dinner. And I'm like, we don't talk. Like, I don't like to have bad blood with people, but like sometimes people just don't like you, and you can't make everyone like you. You really can't.
Yeah.
And not everyone is for everyone. So, I feel like I just try to lead with authenticity and being like accepting and welcoming of others, too, is really important, because we've been in Chattanooga for 3.5 years. And so we're still, I guess, like semi new, but, I try and be mindful of that whenever new planners or new vendors are entering the industry. I can't grab coffee with all of them, although I do get a lot of requests for that, but I just don't have the capacity for that, right? So I'll do it in other ways, rather like telling them, "Hey, I'm going to be at this networking event. I would love to meet up with you," or like definitely just come up to me. I'd love to chat with you and get to learn more about you and your business. I try and be really welcoming to people who are coming in the industry, because I was just there like in Chattanooga a few years ago, so I remember it quite well.
Yeah, you're literally so sweet. I'm sure you get like 10 plus messages a day asking you to get coffee, and you're you're just so gracious.
Yeah. I'm like, sorry guys, I don't have the capacity, but like,
Yeah, would love to.
yeah. Well, I've done like, sometimes I'll do like a virtual coffee chat where it's like, hey, I'll connect with you for 15 minutes over Zoom. But to be honest, sometimes I don't have the capacity for that either. So I'll
Yeah.
just say like, hey, if you want to send over your like your pricing or any package information that you have. I'll keep it on hand. And like, if I find a good fit, then I can reach out to you at a later time. And most people are really understanding of that. But I think some people think that planners are being rude when they do that. And it's not us being rude. We just don't have the bandwidth to be able to do that. Because if I met with everyone who reached out to me, like I would not get no client work done, like nothing.
Oh, yeah. I bet.
It's just not a good use of my time, but I understand the intention.
Mm-hmm. And another thing that I was thinking about is you being in Chattanooga for just 3 years. This is why this is a perfect topic for you, because it's like, it does not seem like that. It seems like you've been there for 10 years. You have so many connections. Everyone loves you, or at least, everyone that I know loves you.
Yeah.
So yeah. Basically, you're a great guest for this topic. But kind of on the flip side, you were talking about like being authentic. What are some of those things that you've seen that vendors do that feel inauthentic when they're like trying to make connections either with you as a planner or just like with vendors in general?
Yeah. So back to those emails that I mentioned, I get a lot of those like every day. I would say at least one a day. And you can tell really quickly if they took the time to research your company or if it's just a copy paste blasting it out to all the different planners in the area. I am not, to be honest, I don't respond to those emails. If it just says like hello and then it like no name, not even like Before the Vows team, nothing like that. Like there's no personalization to it. They're just copying and pasting it. You can tell it was put through ChatGPT, and there was just no time or effort put into like learning, like taking the time to look on the website, see who the owner is, like, and greet me by name, things like that. So I feel like it's a no-no in my book. On the flip side, I've had vendors reach out and they've greeted me by name and they've like complimented something specific about a recent wedding that we've done. And then I had one girl who does spray tans. She offered me my team free spray tans, and now she's my spray tan girl. I go to her all the time, So, I know that doesn't answer your question, but that's how to do it correctly, as opposed to the first way that I mentioned. And then I would say another thing that I find inauthentic is when I get like random gifts from people I've never worked with before, or like I don't have a relationship with, right?
Yeah.
And it's just kind of weird to me because I feel like it's I'm like, what's your intention behind it? Are you just trying to get bookings, or are you trying to form a relationship with me? I think it's just kind of like love bombing in a way, in like a vendor relationship way. You know what I mean? It's just like inauthentic. Whereas on the flip side, I just got a card in the mail from a photographer. I had never worked there before, but she just sent me like a really nice card saying like, I admire your work. I would love to work together one day. And that was that hit me a lot differently than like getting a random gift from someone who I've never worked with before. I've never even really spoke to before. I'm like, number one, how'd you get my address? I'm like, that
is a little weird.
That's happened before, Whereas like vendors who I have relationships with, I love that. Like, because we have relationships, we have a rapport with each other. We've worked with each other before. Like, I know what their intentions are. I know that they're pure, So I would say I'll get the copy paste AI emails and then the random gifts. Like, no, that's a no for me.
Nice. That's funny. I haven't heard about the random gifts. That's a new thing.
Yeah, it's very strange. Yeah, I mean, I guess vendors just don't know, and I know every planner is different, right? You might talk to another planner and they might say they love that, but for me personally, I just find it inauthentic. So,
yeah, that makes sense. Maybe the planners that love it are the ones whose love language is gifting.
Yeah, mine's not gifts. Mine's words of affirmation. So if I get a nice card, I'm like, oh, love this. But I do love gifts. I do love gifts, but like from someone who I know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it needs to be not someone random.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'd love to know, what are some common ways that you feel like vendors are unintentionally hurting their chances of creating meaningful relationships, not necessarily just with planners, but like could be with planners, with other vendors in general?
Right. There are several things I could probably list, but the first one that comes to mind is gossiping. Being in a predominantly female industry, I mean, there is a lot more gossiping than I feel like is necessary. Now, I'm not perfect. I've definitely fallen prey to gossiping before. I feel like everyone has, right? But gossiping and complaining are two things that are just a big red flag for me. Whether it be like we are at a networking event and other vendors are talking poorly about certain vendors, or we're at a wedding and I've heard vendors talk poorly about the couple. We had one wedding
Not
this
good.
year, yeah, where the photographer was complaining about the couple and my team was right there and they were like, Jenny, like, and I was like, oh my gosh, like since then I haven't worked with that photographer, nor will I ever again, because that negativity and that hatred is not welcome. And it is a surefire way for me to never want to work with you again, because I think it's so easy to revert to the negative and to complain and to gossip and to slander to make yourself feel better. And I don't think that there's a time and a place for it, like, at all. Like I said, I've definitely fallen guilty to it before, but I try and be very mindful of that. Like I tell my team, I'm like, every single word that comes out of our mouth is positive, it's life-giving, it's encouraging, it's supportive. If there is, if something does happen with a vendor, like, we reflect about it after the wedding day instead of making it like a complaining fest. We talk about it like, okay, what did this DJ do that maybe doesn't align with how we want to serve our couples? And then we make it constructive and we make sure that the whole team is aware, like, hey, we're probably not going to refer this DJ again because of X, Y, and Z, because I do think it is important to reflect after every wedding and to have those conversations, but internally, right? And not talking about it with other vendors, because word travels very, very fast and a lot of misinformation is spread. And it is just, it's not something that I think is necessary at all. And I can't stand it when people do that. And it happens all the time, like all the time. I had one photographer complain to me about a band, and I looked at her and I was like, like, this is a full service planning client and I handpicked every single one of these vendors. So you're complaining to me about a band that I chose and that I love and that I have a very positive relationship with. I'm like, can we read the room a little bit? Like, I don't understand. Like, that is very unprofessional in my opinion. And I don't care if your work is good. If you're gossiping and complaining all the time, then I don't want to work with you. That's just
Yeah.
how it is.
Yep. Makes sense.
Yeah. I know you agree because we've had these conversations before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. On the flip side, what do you feel like are a few things that vendors could do to build stronger relationships with peers in the industry?
I would just say, like, supporting and encouraging one another and celebrating each other's wins, I think, is really important. Whether that be, sending them a Christmas card or writing them a review. If it's a vendor that you work with all the time, literally on my sticky note right now, I have like, write reviews. And I know we've done that before for each other, because reviews are, they can really, really help small businesses. So taking the time to think about, okay, what can I do to support this vendor? I love working with them. I want to see them succeed. I want to see them thrive. So what are things that I can do? It can be gifts. It can be a card, it can be a review. And then also thinking about, like, on a wedding day, right? It's thinking about, okay, what can I do to support or to make that vendor's life easier, right? So for us in particular, it's like, okay, some things that we can do to make the media team's job easier is before they get there, we can have all the stuff for the flat lay ready to go. We can have the flowers from the florist. We can have, the invitations, the veil, the shoes, all of that, right? Does it happen every time? No, because sometimes you're pulled in a million different directions and, like, sometimes that doesn't happen. But, we always try and have all of that stuff there for the media team. So that way when they get there, they can hit the ground running and then they can start capturing those details. For the florist, we try and have, like, the linens laid, like, right when we get on site so they can start working on centerpieces and candles and things like that. And we've had other vendors who are, they check in on us, they say, like, hey, what can I do for you? So just kind of having more of, I know you use this word a lot and I love it, so I'm going to use it, like, servant's heart, that's so important. It's not just like, okay, I'm a videographer. I'm only going to do what I need to do. But it's thinking outside the box and being like, okay, how can I serve other vendors? What can I do to make their lives easier? Because if you're making the lives of the vendors around you easier, it's going to directly have a positive impact on the couple, right? And couples can sense that. They can sense if like the vendors are jiving and working well with one another. And they can also sense if it's the opposite. So just, putting your ego to the side and like instead of just focusing on what you need to do, yes, the couple has hired you to do that job, but you also are, I think the phrase is like a cog in the wheel. Is that the phrase? You know what I'm
I have
talking
no
about?
idea.
I think that's what it is. I Googled it the other day to make sure. I think that's what it is.
I
You're
mean, I believe you.
Yeah, if I'm wrong, then maybe someone can tell me. But you're a piece of the puzzle, right? And we all come together, and without one of us, the day isn't going to go as well as it could, right? So I think just taking a step back and asking yourself, what can you do for other people? Like I've even had like photographers be like, oh my gosh, can I grab your water for you? Like you've been running around like crazy. And I'm like, that would actually be like really great. Like it was during a downtime because photographers and videographers are very busy during the day. But it was just really sweet and thoughtful. So that as well. Yes.
Yeah. This is definitely something I'm very passionate about, and I know you are too. And I won't give away all your secrets of all the things that you do, but you guys do a really great job without saying too much further.
Right.
But I mean, it's just being a good person, being a kind person, but two,
Yes.
it's a good business practice. Like having a servant's heart, not just with your couple. Yes, that's super important, but also with the whole vendor team. I mean, there's just so many positives that come from it. You make authentic relationships. There's potential referrals. It makes your life easier, makes their life easier. It's more enjoyable. Like there's just so many benefits of it. And I think that a lot of vendors get it, and then some vendors don't. And I just feel like if you don't get it, like I just want to shake you.
Like why are you in this? Why are you in this industry if you don't get it? Like, yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. Most vendors do get it, but there is shockingly a good bit who just don't. I always go back to that phrase. It's like, you can teach people skills, but you can't teach them like how to treat people, and you can't teach them good character. And I always have that phrase in mind whenever we're hiring too, 'cause it's like skills are teachable, but I can't teach you like how to be kind to others, how to be respectful of other people. Sometimes it's just a character flaw. And there are vendors, and I know there are in every single industry, right? But there are people who there's just a character flaw, and like I don't want to work with you. And that's how it is. Like, we don't
Yeah.
align. We don't see eye to eye with this. And I don't think that's going to change. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's unfortunate, There's those few that you're like, man, you make it really difficult to work with you. Like, well, I do want to shift slightly and kind of talk more towards like or about social media. Do you feel like social media is helping connections, hurting connections, both? What are your thoughts about social media when it comes to vendor connections?
I feel like it depends how you use it. Again, it comes back to the authenticity piece. Like we have certain vendors who interact with our content, and you can tell it's just like they're just checking a box. They're like, we post a story, they're like, heart eye, fire, fire, fire. And they like all of our stories, and I'm like I just kind of get annoyed. I'm like, that's a lot of notifications. I'm like really annoyed right now. I'm like, whereas on the flip side, I have vendors who, we design a lot of weddings, right? And then they take the time to leave a really meaningful comment, whether they worked with us on the wedding or not. They might be like, oh, like those plates that you chose. Like, I love how I don't know, I love the shape of them, or like, the napkin fold or something like that. They take the time to be very intentional with their comments, and they're not just kind of checking a box. I feel like if I had to choose a side, social media, I feel like it can strengthen relationships in that whenever I'm sourcing vendors for my couples, I do have a great network of vendors to pull from, but sometimes my couples have like random requests, like I want a cannoli person walking around on the dance floor. So social media is a great way to be able to source those vendors, and discover new people. So sometimes when one of my couples is like, hey, I really want a editorial style photographer. I might have a few in mind already, but then I'll go to my social media and I'll search like, editorial photographer, and then I'll like see who I already follow, who already follows me. And I'm like, I never worked with this person before. And then I kind of go down a rabbit hole. So I think I do love social media. I just think some people don't use it correctly. And again, they're just being like not authentic with it. Sending fire emojis on my stories isn't going to make me want to work with you. Whereas vendors who are taking the time to be like, if we worked a wedding with them, wow, I really loved working with you. Like the design was beautiful. Like can't wait to do it again. Or like saying something specific and intentional. That's my 2 cents about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is something that I think a lot of vendors do that isn't necessarily the best when it comes to like planners specifically. And I mean, I will say that at some point we've done it as well. Thankfully, with you, when we connected, it was like actually genuine, and that's probably why we're friends now. But
Right.
but like in our very early years, I mean, we did all the annoying things of like sending those little like commenting on the stories, or not even commenting, but like clicking the little emoji, which is so easy and it doesn't mean anything. But I think it's important for vendors who are listening, like your inauthenticity, it's very obvious, even if you think it's not, because I was there before and I thought you couldn't see through my inauthenticity, but yeah, it's just not the way to go. Being more like you said, more specific of like, if they loved the design that you did, commenting about that's better. That's like supporting you guys. That's giving you more, comments, more engagement, which is great. So definitely a better way to go.
Yes, I totally agree with that.
Do you feel like you have any hot takes when it comes to like networking and vendor relationship building?
Man, I feel like we kind of touched on some of these already. I mean, I would just say the cold emailing. I don't even know if that's a hot take, but it just like needs to stop. Like, or if you do that, like, I think I'm more receptive to getting an email like that. Like I said, if you are greeting me by name, if you are saying something specific about my company, my business, my brand, or if you've taken the time to kind of like develop a relationship on social media, bringing back the social media piece, if you've taken a time to kind of form a connection with us on social media first before reaching out over email. I feel like in this day and age, people are all about instant gratification, and they just want it to be, they reach out to planners and they expect to get a reply like, yeah, like, of course, like, I would love to get you on a call with my client next week. And that's just not how it is. Like, I feel like the long game is the best way to go. So I feel like that needs to stop. And then back to the gossiping, complaining. It's just constant. Sometimes I don't even want to go to certain like networking events because I feel like it just becomes a complain fest. And I don't like that. Like I'm a very positive person. I'm not oblivious by any means. Like I know that the wedding industry is a highly emotional industry. Like there's a lot of high stakes, high pressure. And it can be a lot, but ultimately, I love what I do more than anything. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. And I feel so fortunate and blessed to be able to do this day in and day out. So, all the complaining and people being like, oh, this is just like this bride, this mother, the bride. I'm like, why? No, like let's make it constructive, I'm just not about that. So yeah, gossiping, complaining, cold emails. I don't know if those are hot takes, but I feel like for some people they are. Those are mine for sure.
Yeah, those are good. They shouldn't be hot takes, but I mean, for how common it is, I guess it is a hot take, but I
Right.
completely agree. And I especially do not like it when vendors talk about their clients or like their client's family. It's like, it's already bad to talk about another vendor, but please just if you have a problem with your clients, maybe discuss it with like your team if you have a team and like need feedback, or like your spouse if you just need to like let it out.
Yes.
But
Yeah. No,
not other vendors.
yes. Yeah. My husband Evan gets all the juicy tea. That's why I reserve it for him and my dog. They won't tell
Yeah.
anyone. So you gotta have one person you can go to, but it shouldn't be other vendors. Like, it absolutely should not be other vendors. And I don't know if that's ever gonna stop, but I don't like to partake in it at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. Well, I'd love to kind of shift more towards like vendor client relationships, because I know we could talk, like I said before, for hours. So I want to make sure we're, sticking to the timeline.
Yeah.
But why do you think it matters so much for vendors to build those authentic relationships with their clients?
Mm-hmm. For me, client relationships are my favorite part about this job. The relationships that I've gotten to form with our couples, and I now call them my friends. Like, I don't hang out and like get dinner and drinks with them while they are my clients. I wait until after their wedding day, right? Because I keep it very professional, while they are my clients. But I have made like lifelong friends with a lot of our couples, and that's really who Before the Vows strives to be at the core. Is we want our couples to feel like seen, heard, celebrated, appreciated, respected. And I feel like this might be bleeding into one of the other questions coming up, but I think the best thing that vendors can do is to listen to their couples more than speak. Because there's so much power in that when you sit down and you're curious. You ask intentional questions. I feel like that's something that you do really well, right? Because not every couple is going to be the same. Couples don't want this to be just another wedding for you. To them, this is the most important day of their lives, and you should treat it with that same level of respect and care. And they don't want you to just be like, okay, checked off the list, going on to the next one. Like, that doesn't make them feel good. That doesn't make them feel supported and celebrated. So I think more vendors can take the time to be more curious, ask more intentional questions, and make it less about me, I, what I can do for you, as opposed to like, hey, I really want to know more about you guys, your story, what's important to you guys, and how I can, highlight that on your wedding day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I love this. I mean, like, just like your business, a big part of our business is making things super personal for our clients. So, of course, we need to get to know them, which is like why we do, the first discovery call and like make custom proposals and have that final call before the wedding day and like learn about all their preferences. Because, like, yes, we could, send a generic proposal, or we could skip the final call and just put together a film that we think is really great. But it's like you said, this is the couple's one wedding day, and it's super special for them. It's so important for them, even if you've worked 1,000 weddings, which, I haven't yet. But
Yeah.
if you've worked hundreds of weddings, like, this is their one wedding, and we should be respecting it and celebrating it and acting as if this is our only wedding that we will be working this whole year.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
I love everything that you shared.
Yeah, the couple should feel like that they are your only couple. And I know that's so hard, right? Especially, based on, whatever the vendor is in their business model and how many weddings they take on every year. But I try and be very cognizant of that, like in meetings, I'm not being like, hey, gotta run, I have another meeting with another client. Like, I build in buffer time to make sure that I show them that they are a priority to me. They are important to me. I just think that's so important because couples, they know, like they can sense it. I went to Wedding MBA, not to plug Wedding MBA, but it's like, for those of you who don't know, it's like a national wedding vendor convention that they hold every year. And they were talking a lot about Gen Z because they're, the upcoming generation who's getting married. And they said that Gen Z clients book vendors more on vibes than they do pricing. And they said vibes, and I was like, that's they want to like you as a person. They want to sense that you are invested and that you care about them and that you're supportive of them, and it's becoming less about pricing and more about positive vibes. Do they connect with you on a human level? You can't put on front, that couples see right through that. I just thought that was really interesting, and I have found that really to ring true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you feel like you, from the start, wanting to build those genuine, authentic relationships with your clients, do you feel like that has helped shape your business over time? Do you feel like there's like a positive correlation with how successful you are in, your 3 years in Chattanooga?
Yeah, no, definitely. One of my favorite compliments I get is like, Jenny genuinely cared about my wedding as much as I did, if not more, right? And again, there's so many amazing planners out there, so many amazing vendors out there. I'm not saying that I'm the best. I'm constantly trying to grow and learn and improve my craft and stay up with the times and the trends and things like that. But one thing I feel like I'm really, really good at is just making sure that all of my clients feel like I genuinely care about them and I want to be there for them and support them. So I think there's definitely a positive correlation with that because, if you're at a wedding and you're like, let's say that it's about to, ceremony's in a few hours, it's about to rain, right? And ceremony's already set up outside, right? I can just say like, oh, well, everyone's just going to sit at their dinner table in the reception space. Or I can look at my team and be like, okay, guys, we're going to tear down all those tables in the reception space. We're going to set up all the chairs ceremony style. And then, we're going to do a flip and we're going to make it work. We're going to move mountains for our clients. I always say that to my team. And is that fun in the moment? Like, this is a true story that I'm telling, like having to tear down the reception table,
Yeah.
set up ceremony 3 hours beforehand. Like, is that fun? No. Is it hard? Absolutely. Like, is it almost like insane? Probably. But like, at the end of the day, it's like, it's not about me. It's not about any of the vendors. It's about the couple and their experience and how they're going to look back on the day. And I want all of our couples to look back and be like, wow, like Before the Vows, do anything for us. They would like lay down their lives for us to make sure that we had an amazing wedding day. So I think that's so important. I don't even know what the question was. I get very passionate about this.
You're doing great.
Yes. Whatever the question was, that's my answer.
That was a good answer. What are some like practical tips for how vendors can create personal and authentic connections with their clients? Like if a vendor's like, okay, yeah, this sounds all great, but like, how do I do this?
Strong communication, first and foremost. The number one complaint I get from my couples when I'm working with them is it depends on what capacity, like what package they book with us. Like this is more so from our month of coordination couples because we are not in the driver's seat and we're not the main point of contact throughout. And the number one complaint I get from them is lack of communication. Yes, like a majority of the vendors, the client books you and then it's like they don't really reach out again until a month before. And that causes so much anxiety and stress for our couples. They just want touch points. They want to know that you are still thinking about them and that they're still important to you and that you haven't forgotten about their wedding, and like so many couples these days are afraid of like vendors booking them, getting that deposit and running, because it's happened before. So they love those touch points, and vendors who have those touch points, even if it's just like, hey, like, when photographers are like, they reach out like midway throughout the process, they're like, hey, I want you to start thinking about your family shot list. Here are some practical tips that I give to my couples. Like, that's amazing. Like adding value to the client experience, and showing them that you're not just waiting until like the month before to reach out to them. I think that's so important. And I know vendors get so busy, they get caught up in everything, but you should have a CRM or like, processes and procedures set up, built into your your business that allow you to have those touch points. Cause I think that makes the world of difference with clients and their overall experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's a really, really good tip. I think that a lot of vendors could implement that. And maybe some vendors think like, oh, well, I don't want to like bog down the client. They're really busy with wedding planning. I don't want to just like send them an email. But that's really good to hear from your experience with couples telling you like, hey, I wish my vendors like checked in on me a little bit. So that's a really good tip.
Yeah, and then the check-in doesn't need to be like a long, laborious email. Like no one has time for that. You know what I mean? It's just like, hey, like a few sentences, like, hope you're having a fabulous holiday season. We're so excited for your wedding in June. Like, I want you to start thinking about your family shot list. Attach are some helpful tips. I'm here if you need anything. You know, it doesn't need to be anything crazy or earth-shattering. It just needs to show that you care and you're invested in the process.
Yeah, that's really good. And you kind of mentioned earlier about like how during the wedding planning process, you don't really go out and like have dinner or get drinks with your clients, but after you can. Are there any like specific boundaries that you intentionally set to stay professional while still being warm?
Yes. The biggest thing is I don't drink with my clients, even at the menu tasting. And I've found that that's not the norm. From what I've heard from my other planner friends, they're drinking at the menu tastings and they're having fun. But for me, it's like I'm a lightweight. Like when I drink, it's like I can't focus, you know? So like the menu tasting is very important because we're finalizing the menu. We're going over bar logistics, like, and I cannot consume anything that could maybe make me not think clearly, have that mental clarity. So I don't drink with my couples at all, especially on the wedding day. So many vendors do that. That's a massive no-no for me. I know it's for you too. And it's like, I don't care what vendor you are. I don't care if you're a DJ. You should not be consuming alcohol on a wedding day. I guess that's my hot take. I don't know. But
That's good.
um even if the client is like, oh my gosh, like have a drink with me, Jenny. No, the answer is no. Like I am the captain of the ship. And if the captain goes down, then it's not going to be good. But alcohol is a huge thing. Another boundary I have, I don't let clients follow my personal Instagram until after the fact. Not like I'm posting anything crazy on my personal Instagram, I'm posting my dog and my husband, but it blurs that line, right? And my personal Instagram is private. It's for my friends and my family, right? So if after the wedding, if I have a positive relationship with a couple, then I will allow them to follow me. I'll accept their request. Some of them try to follow me during the engagement period. I just leave it like as a request, and then they like start to build up, and I'm like, There was only one client who I let follow me, and she was amazing, but yeah, it was like towards the last couple weeks of her engagement. But that's typically another hard line I draw in the sand. Man, other boundaries. I've started like having only meeting with clients on certain days, so being more strict with my office hours so they can know that I'm a human too, not a robot. Like a lot of people think, you know, I have a life, I have a family, and I need to take time to rest and recharge so I can serve them well. So restricting my meeting times, my office hours is another boundary that I have with couples, and most of them are very understanding, right? I'm just very communicative about that. I'm very forthcoming to it. Like during the onboarding process, I explain that. And that has been a really positive shift that I made in my business this year. Yeah, those are the boundaries I would say I set. I don't know if they're some planners don't have those boundaries, some do. It's like whatever works for you, but those are my non-negotiables for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it depends on every vendor's preferences, but I mean, I like those boundaries. They fit with my preferences.
Right, we're very aligned. We're like the same person.
Yeah. And I will say we are so aligned because
Yeah.
I also had one bride that I did let follow me on my personal account, which I don't even post anything there.
Right.
I let her follow before we even filmed the wedding because we're friends. Like
Right.
we had such a great relationship from the start. We are so aligned, like we could be best friends basically. But other than that, I'm like, you don't need to follow my personal. I don't even post on it. Let's just the business one. I post more there.
Right. Right.
What do you feel like vendors sometimes do, maybe like unknowingly that weakens the trust or the connection that they have with their clients?
I feel like the way that a vendor presents themselves is everything, especially when it comes to planners. We have great responsibility and we are producing an entire show. Like, it is a production, and when planners, this is something a hot take too, when planners show up to client meetings, even on Zoom, and it looks like they roll out of bed, they're wearing like a t-shirt, sweats, like even like in-person meetings, they're not put together. It looks like they haven't done their hair or their makeup. Like, how you present yourself is everything, right? Especially when you're first starting out, right? Because you might not have as much experience, but based on how you present yourself, no one will know, because, presentation is everything. And it doesn't have to, like, when you're a planner, you don't need to like wear designer clothes and have designer bags, but you need to look very put together. You need to look like that you made an effort, because if you aren't taking the time to make sure that you look presentable and put together, then how can a client trust you with $100,000 event, or, even more than that? It I feel like that's something that vendors unknowingly do. I'm speaking mostly to planners, but even like photographers, like we've talked about this too on the day.
Yeah.
Like, why are you wearing jeans? Why are you wearing cargo pants? Like, what in the world? This is a black tie wedding. I told you specifically that the formality of this event and the fact that you are showing up to this wedding dressing like that, it shows that you don't care. And it irks me to no end. And even if you are an amazing videographer, amazing photographer, if you don't dress nicely, if you don't put some effort into your appearance, if you wear a baseball cap, I'm like, what? Like, hello? I don't understand. So that's, again, I'm getting passionate about this.
Yeah.
That's a big thing that vendors, I don't even think they realize. Like, I even had a vendor come for teardown recently. And yes, like the clients had already left, right? But there were guests lingering, as they do, after they've consumed some drinks, they're lingering around the venue. She comes in pajama pants for teardown. And I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, do we understand the gravity of this day? Are we giving it the respect that it deserves? And like, how you present yourself is everything throughout the entire process, especially if you're trying to break into higher end weddings, you have to look the part, and people are always like, wow, you're so dressed up. I'm like, this is what I do. Like, every meeting, even if it's a Zoom meeting, at least from the waist up, I'm dressed up.
Yeah.
My hair is, makeup's done. That's a standard across our entire team. And it's something so little that you can do that can really level you up and take you to the next level. So I don't think people realize that enough.
Yeah. And this is such a hot topic because we've pre-recorded a few episodes of the podcast this week. And I mean, this has come up so many times about like how vendors are dressing, and that's not even the topic of the podcast. And I really do feel like there's like two options for vendors that don't dress right. I feel like one, they just don't know. They have absolutely no idea. And so it's not their intention to be disrespectful. They just don't know. And then the other end is like, well, I'm going to do what I want because I want clients to accept me for who I am. And this is who I am. I don't dress all fancy. But it's like, that is not the mindset you should be having. Clients can accept you for who you are, but you should be respectful that this is like a black tie event, for example. You should not be in shorts and sneakers. Like, it's not that hard to dress nicely, even if you just wear all black. Like, it's so easy. And like, no jeans,
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I hear this all the time from like planners, photographers, videographers. They're like, we're moving around all day. Like, I need to be able to be agile and flexible. And I'm like, okay, listen here. Like, I can still wear a beautiful dress, but I wear biker shorts underneath to help with like, in case the wind blows or like with chafing. Like, I can still be agile and active, but I still look very nice and put together. And then for men, like my, as you know, my husband, he's an officiant, and he like, during the summer months, it gets really hot here in Tennessee, and they make suits that are like athletic suits that are like more breathable and like more stretchy. There's so many things out there on the market that you can still look nice and put together and still they'll have it be practical. So there's really
Mm-hmm.
no excuse in that.
Yeah.
At all. And that's like, it's really unfortunate when we work with a vendor who like, we love them. Like they're really good people. Their work is amazing. But if they don't dress well, if I, sometimes I have a conversation with them if I feel like they're going to receive it well. If not, I'm just like, like it's sad. Like they're losing out on business over their outfit choices. And it's
Mm-hmm.
really, really sad. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we've or I specifically have talked to some of my vendor friends in the industry, mainly like photographers and videographers, and I've told them like, "Hey, if you don't wear jeans, like that might help your chances of like planners referring you." And I mean, they're totally shocked, but I yeah. But, I've seen their BTS recently and I'm like, look at them. They're dressing so nicely. I'm sure that's positively affecting their business.
100%. 100%. Man, that's
Yeah.
wild.
We just went down a rabbit hole. Let me try to
Nope.
bring it back.
This is how I have any conversation. I'm like, like,
Yeah.
never a straight path. Whoops.
Well, this is great. All right. I do have a good question that I want to ask.
Yeah.
What do you feel like are some ways that you or like a vendor could build trust with clients really early in the process before they even see what they're going to wear on the wedding day or how they're going to treat people? What are some ways that they can build trust?
I would say like communicating what the client journey would look like from the jump. So when vendors will send us this, I'm mostly referring to like photo and video teams, but when we'll get a client will book with a photographer and they'll send like a really great welcome guide, and on there is like a timeline, like what comes next. This is what the next year or so is going to look like working with us. Here's what you can expect. Here's how often you'll expect to hear from us. Here's some frequently asked questions that we get. I find clients really like that because this whole process, most of them have never been married before, so they don't know what to expect. And there's a lot of fear and anxiety in the unknown. Them getting something like a welcome guide or even like a client gift. Our clients love gifts.
Yeah.
So just like a fun little gift to let them know that like, hey, thanks for like trusting me with such an important day. Like I'm so excited to be a part of it. So we do that with our full service couples. We send out a questionnaire and we get to know them and we send them like a personalized gift based on their responses. We haven't done it for our month of coronation couples yet, so sorry guys. Maybe we will by the time it comes out. But they love that too. So client gifting is huge, and just like communicating expectations. The onboarding process I feel like is so overlooked and it's so powerful, and it's where a lot of issues can be nipped in the bud. A lot of potential issues down the road can be nipped in the bud. Like if I skip any step of our onboarding process, there is more bumps in the road with our couples than if I go through all of the steps with them, So I think that's so important. Is not skipping over that and taking time and energy and potentially resources to onboard them in a very intentional way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really good. And I didn't know you were going to talk about client gifting, but I love client gifting. I agree. I think it's so overlooked, and it's obviously not something you're going to tell the potential client that you're going to give them a gift,
Right.
but it's just something sweet that you can do once you get to know them a little bit better. And like I don't love receiving gifts. I mean, I'll receive gifts and I'll be happy. But I love giving gifts. I'm like,
Yes.
ooh, what would they like? Let me look on my favorite websites. This is so pretty. Oh, this is so cute. I think I want this for them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a fun thing for me to like pick out the personal gifts. But I've also seen a hugely positive correlation between like just like the client's attitude towards us, which has never been bad, but like once they receive that gift, they're like, wow, I just see a shift. And we're not trying to bribe them or anything, it's like we're just trying to help this time be a very special time. But it definitely does help with like our connection.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know that it'll help other vendors as well.
Yeah.
And there was something else. Keep going.
No, you're good. I feel like some vendors are a little apprehensive about client gifting. So like, okay, how can I build this into our budget for the year, right? It doesn't need to be anything astronomical.
Yeah.
It can be something small. And even like pairing that with a handwritten note. Handwritten notes go so far. Taking the time to just like express how excited you are about it, how thankful you are that they chose you out of all the different vendors that are out there. That really, really goes a long way. And our couples love that. So handwritten note, it doesn't need to be, you don't even need to spend $100. You could spend less than that, It doesn't need to be anything
Yeah.
wild. And you could even have tiers to it as well, like for your couples who book one of your higher packages, you can maybe beef up that gift a little bit. Whereas for couples who book your, lower package, you could have something else in mind. So I think more vendors should do that.
Yeah.
And it's going to be it's going to be very well received. So
Yes, I agree. It's a very small business expense that will make such a positive impact. It's like a little bit of money that makes a big difference for your clients. It's very special to them that you would even think to give them anything. They're not expecting that.
yep, totally.
Yeah. I like that you said having like a very clearly thought out like welcome email. That's so important. And it kind of reminded me of like specifically for vendors who deliver things after the wedding, like, photographers and videographers. I hear this all the time, like, my clients emailed me, where are my photos? Where are my videos? When am I getting them? It's like,
Yeah.
they should know that and don't expect that they remember what was in the contract. You need to email them again after the wedding. Let them know, hey, thanks so much. I loved working with you. This is what was in your collection. This is when it will be delivered. Like, this is when you can expect it.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Now they're not going to ask you when they're going to get their films or their photos because they're not going to be surprised.
Yes, repetition is key. Clients don't read contracts. I know that firsthand because I do contract review for all of our full service couples and they don't read them. They want me to read them and then pick out points that are like, see if there's any red flags or anything noteworthy, or like pick out any like really important things that I really want them to know, but like they don't read contracts. If it's in your contract, they're probably not going to remember. They maybe didn't even read it to begin with. So like, again, it's that communication piece. It's so overlooked and it is so powerful. And it just really, it makes your couples have more confidence and faith in you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I do want to start wrapping it up. I have more questions, but I know we could talk for hours and hours. So I just want to ask like a few final questions and then you can share where listeners can find you. But do you feel like some vendors are a little more focused on their craft rather than being professional and helpful to the couple? In your experience as a planner, what have you seen?
Yes. Or the short answer, yes. Where I see this the most is vendors who aren't just emotionally aware and they can't read the room on a wedding day. As you know, being, a videographer is like couples get really just like worn down and overwhelmed on a wedding day with the amount of photos and videos that are taken. And yes, the client has hired you to capture their day, right? But not at the expense of their happiness and how they experience their day. I've had photographers, I've never really had this with videographers, but I've had photographers in the past who it is blatantly obvious the couple is over it. They're done. They just want to dance. They don't want to do sunset photos. Stop asking me if they want to do sunset photos. Like, have you gotten enough couples portraits of them before the ceremony? You did? Okay, great. Then like let them go. Like let them be. Let them experience their day and stop trying to be like, okay, I really want to get this one shot. I saw this shot of another photographer did at this venue and I really want to capture something similar. Like again, it's not about you. And it is like I'm like such a mama bear with my couples. I'm like I want to protect their peace and their joy. And anyone who tries to interfere with that, I'm like, no, like I'm putting my foot down. And a lot of couples are too nice to say no. They're like, sure, like, okay. And then like, they're like, just 5 minutes. And next thing I know, it's like 20 minutes. I'm like, where have they been? Like the dance floor is bumping, like they need to be joining the dance floor. And so I think I definitely see that mostly with photographers, not all photographers. I love photographers who just are emotionally aware and like who put the client's emotional needs before their own.
Mm-hmm.
But that I see that a lot for sure. And it's sad because, like, okay, maybe you're trying to get this wedding published, right? And that's great. But like, is the publication worth more than their happiness? No. Like, and in this day and age of social media, it's like sometimes vendors go into it with like, okay, I'm going to get this wedding published. And then they'll do anything, monopolize the couple's happiness, monopolize the timeline just to make sure that they get the exact photos that they need to get this wedding published. And I'm like, it's not about that. Like, it's heartbreaking to see. Again, I don't want to work with vendors who are like that. Like, I want to work with vendors who are couple focused, who are collaborative, communicative, kind, genuine, good human beings. If you're a good human being, it goes so far. It's like underrated.
Yeah.
Just be a decent human being. It will go so far.
Yeah. We've definitely seen that because obviously we're videographers. We work with photographers at every single wedding. There's not a wedding we work that doesn't have a photographer, and a lot are so amazing. But we've definitely seen some that couldn't really read the room. Like for example, the groom, he's over his portraits. He does not want to do any more portraits. It's been 15 minutes. You don't even really need 15 minutes of groom's portraits. And it's like, I'm going to move on. I'm going to go into the other room, but it's like the photographer continues and he's too nice to say anything, but it's like you just got to read the room. It isn't about your portfolio. And like I know that all vendors want to do a really great job so that, we can get more weddings. But it's like, if the client doesn't want to refer you, or like if the planner doesn't want to refer you, that is like the worst thing that you can do for yourself. If you have beautiful images, great. But like, if you lost the referral of a planner who could help you get a lot of weddings, it's like, I'm trying to think of like a phrase, but you basically hurt yourself is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. No, I mean, a phrase that we always come back to is, at least for on our end, it's like the couple won't remember if the ceremony started right at 4 p.m., but they will remember how you made them feel. It's
Yes,
the
that's
same
good.
thing with any other vendor. They might not remember if the florist like had like a certain bloom in the centerpiece, but they're gonna remember how they made them feel. Although like the florist doesn't interact with the client that much. You know what I mean? You get the point.
Yeah. Yeah.
How you make them feel, they will remember that like far after the wedding is done. That's so important.
Yeah, that is very, very important. Okay, well, since, time is ticking a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and wrap us up. But if you could give like one last piece of advice to vendors about building authentic relationships, or if there's anything that you wanted to say but you haven't said, the floor is yours.
Yeah. I guess to summarize, being selfless, having a servant's heart, being genuine and kind, collaborative, communicative, like all of that goes so, so far. And at least for me and my team, that those are the traits and the qualities that we're looking for when we're building vendor teams for our couples. Yes, of course, you need to have an amazing portfolio and like your style needs to align with our couples and you need to align with them on budget wise as well. I am much more likely to push for a certain vendor, even if they're more expensive, because I know who they are at their core. I know their intentions. I know that they genuinely love weddings and love this industry and that they just have such a gracious heart. So I'm more likely to refer someone like that as opposed to someone who, might be at a lower price point. But honestly, like I think I know my couples will have a better experience with this other vendor and it's going to be worth the $2,000-$3,000 more that they'll pay because I know that they'll be taken care of and I know they'll be loved on and I know that they will feel like seen and heard. That's my parting words.
Yeah, that's so good. And if our listeners want to connect with you, learn more about you, whether they're a vendor or a couple, maybe they want to inquire with you, where can they find you on social media and your website?
So our website is beforethevowsllc.com. And then if a couple wants to work with us, the best way to reach out to us is to fill out the contact form on our website. And then on Instagram, we are before the vows _ because before the vows is taken. I don't even know. tried to dispute it, but we have the underscore. And then we also are just starting to build our TikTok. Maybe by the time this comes out, our TikTok will be thriving. It's also Before the Vows underscore. And then our Pinterest, we're very active on Pinterest. We have a ton of inspo for design, different venues we've worked at on Pinterest. And I believe that's also Before the Vows underscore.
Amazing. Well, I have loved this conversation. I'm sure our listeners will as well. And I'm so grateful that you joined us today. And yeah, thanks so much.
Of course. Thank you for having me, Gracie. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for listening to the Wedding Pro podcast. If you found this episode helpful, we would love it for you to share with a fellow vendor or someone who's getting married soon. Your support means the world to us and helps us reach more people in this amazing industry. We'll see you next time.